So we are live, and we're back. It's early in the morning. I did a marathon stream last night, like 2.5 hours or so, and I'm back. I haven't even showered yet, but I had to do another painting. The bug bit me, so we're gonna go ahead and give this a shot. This may look a little familiar. I'm going to be doing the same painting I did last night, but changing the season and changing the time of day. If you know me, you know that I teach Bob Ross style classes, so sometimes I'll mix it up a little bit, and I need paintings for my classes. So I'm going to do a multitude of paintings over the next few days so I can prepare for the next few months of classes I have coming up. So when the mood strikes, I do different paintings here. The mood is striking that I really like last night's painting, but I want to change it to a summer version. So let's just do a nice bright blue sky here, a little bit of color, just little crisscross strokes. See how it's darker up here in the top and in the corners, lighter as we get to the horizon. Oh boy, we're on our way. Look at this, I didn't even put all the paint out here yet. And unfortunately, I did not hit the record button on my RPan Studio, so I did not record the paintings I did last night. I got pictures up on the Instagram, and you can watch the replay from my profile and all the different replays I've done over the last however long they save them on my profile. So we're going to drop a little water in, maybe make it a little darker in the front there. This will be the front of the painting, and I'll leave a little bit open there. But anytime you can come back here, drop in a little color, and we got our sky and our water done already. Can you believe it? Well, we're not connected to the chat yet. I'm not quite sure why not. Let me see here if I can go into a browser and see if I'm up on the page or not. Let's see, because I got the welcome message. And let's see, where is the artist studio? Well, I'm here. Maybe I gotta like switch to new. Yes, okay, well I am live. I'm not sure why the comments aren't working. Let me try clicking into the actual video here, and maybe I'll see a comment. Well, I see the auto comment, I guess. But anyways, hopefully you guys throw a comment out there if you happen to feel like it. The RPan Studio chat isn't working, but here we go. So let's clean a brush. I've got my paint bucket, paint thinner bucket, and my screen at the bottom, as we do. Just going to run it a couple of times across that screen, squeeze out, shake out, try to save as much of that paint thinner. You think cheap, but I am. And shake it off into a bucket and beat the heck out of it right there. A little more on the easel, and dab it off on a napkin just to make extra sure that it's really dry. And then I do the same thing but in reverse. Crisscross strokes, little X's. Work from the middle up. And look how soft everything is getting. No little brush strokes. No stripes of color. We just want a nice transition of dark and light areas up in the sky. Sometimes you might pick up a little extra, and it's okay to swirl the napkin around the brush, or the brush around the napkin. and just finish it off that way. Now we do the water just by pulling all the way across. See that? It pulls a little bit of that color, thanks to that liquid white, into the middle, but should leave it a little bit lighter than the outside. I don't often do this, but sometimes I add just a little bit of extra color, just so that it isn't just one dead color there. Bring it across, get some of that excess color out, and we're done. See that? All right, so let's see what we got to do next. We got to do clouds, my friends, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do some big clouds today. Big clouds. I got my titanium white here in my 1-inch brush, and I'm being very careful to just gently pull some off of that pile, and I'm sort of making a little runway. Then I can get into it a little bit. Load up lots of paint. Lots of paint, just in the brush though, right in the brush tips. See that? There we go. Lots of color up there, but not just all ripped through the entire brush, just right out there at the end. Load up lots of color. And we'll come up here and I'm making little circles, not with the full width of the brush there, kind of like lift the brush handle off a little bit, just so that the paint gets deposited and it leaves it a little chunky. It's okay for it to be a little chunky. Let's bring that cloud all the way over there, just sort of twist and get some of that color off. That's it. Just want to get the color off, but I got to clean this brush again. This is going to be our blender, our 2-inch brush. And it's a little process here. Happy little clouds. How about happy big clouds? Are those okay? Little tiny circle strokes, just blending the base of the cloud into the sky. See that? Just little stirs. Doesn't take long. And then we fluff, barely touching, barely touching. Lift that cloud, and then simple crisscross strokes just to finish it off. Fluff, fluff, fluff. Ooh, that looks a little, a little light. You know, it all depends on how much blue paint you have in the sky. That'll affect how fast and how complete those clouds blend. So sometimes your clouds just completely disappear with barely touching it. Sometimes you got to work at it to get it to disappear. Other times it happens very fast. So let's strengthen it up a little bit by putting another layer right where this one started to blend. And let's really load the brush this time, even more. Really push that color off. There we go. That's a little bit brighter. Kind of got a little secondary cloud going, don't we? And again, just blend that base of that cloud out, leaving this nice and white. And lightly, oh so lightly, fluff it. I'm not going to fluff too much. And then finish it off. That one's a little brighter. That one is a little brighter. I say, as I say, let's go ahead. I'm going to take a little bit of Prussian blue. I'm going to put out some paint while a little bit of oil right there at the top. I haven't used Prussian blue in a while. And sometimes it separates on you. Sometimes a little, sometimes a lot of. Just clean up that palette a little bit. There we go. No big whoop. Take that Prussian blue and let's just sort of flatten it down there. And then we're going to take, while I got it here, a little bit of midnight black. We're going to make ourselves a little dark cloud here. So I'm going to take a little bit of that Prussian blue, a little bit of black, sort of mix those together a little. And let's see, let's take a fan brush. Where is my fan brush? Here it is. And I'm going to go into this cloud here. Well, it's going to be a cloud. This dark paint, so we can make a, oh, let's say there's something over here. Oh, there's a storm cloud of ruin here. Little circles this time. Maybe not so big. He's kind of stringy. I like that. Little stringy cloud. And we're going to do the same thing. Gently, gently blend the bottom. Barely touching. Just blend that one back a little bit. Mix some of that paint in there. Fluff, fluff, fluff. Oh, there we go. Look how soft you can make that. Now it looks like it's kind of disappearing. Thinking I could have put one in between these clouds, and I'm going to go ahead and do another closer, whiter cloud right here. Brighter. Just a little bit overlapping that one. That's going to make that cloud look a little further away. Old stormy cloud in the middle of the day. Who would have thought? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you see that. There we go. That's a whole bunch of happy clouds. Are they happy? We're going to get into all sorts of good stuff here. And where is my kind of, I changed the season and changed the time of day. Sometimes I forget I need a reference because I'm forgetful. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, what do you know? There gets to be an ad before I get to see what I'm doing. But we know we're going to be putting in a mountain here. So before we put in the mountain, we'll do, we'll put some paint on our palette before we get too far. I know I'm going to need brown. I see the brown. I pick it up. Let's go ahead and put some brown in there. Sometimes we got a little cheater color that Bob came up with. It's called Mountain Mix, and it's blue, like the dark Prussian blue. It's black, it's brown, and it's also crimson. All mixed up, put into one tube, so we don't have to always put out 4 separate colors to make the background shade for a mountain. So sometimes we use the cheater color. But for you guys, I'm going old school. Let's mix up that color. Well, the funny thing is, Bob will just be like, that's good enough. We got some unmixed paint in there. Sometimes we mix it up a little more thoroughly. It's up to you. It looks good. All right. I don't like a lot of that unmixed color, so I'll mix it up fairly well. Pull a little bit down into a ramp or a runway and just cut across it. Look at that. That way we can make ourselves the start of our mountain. I'm trying to see, do I want a super tall mountain or a little bit peakier style mountain? Well, there's peak and there's point, I guess. If you go down too vertical too quickly, you're at no choice but to make a very pointy style mountain. But I'm going to come in here and we're going to change it a little bit. The idea is to just put on this dark stain, basically. Another peak right there. This dark stain of color, and just build out the general idea how many peaks you want your mountain to have. And you can just push the paint in and scrape it away. And I got an idea of of what I want this to look like, but sometimes the idea in your head doesn't always translate. You just work with what happens. So this is a very nice background color. It's very dark, dark purple. And we got another peak here. I'm going to put a, what did I say? I'm going to put a third peak. Say something like that. I tell you what, maybe a fourth peak. We're getting nuts now. Look out. 4 peaks. The madman. What was he thinking? Okay, not too pyramid-like. A little bit of a interesting thing going on there. We scrape most of the color off. Maybe, sometimes, and this is something Bob doesn't always say in class, sometimes he'll leave a little bit of paint that he knows is eventually going to be a shadow. He's sneaky like that. So when we do the next step, it just works a lot easier. Wow, I'm cleaning brush after brush after brush today. Getting a lot of use out of this one. All right, that was a good one. Well, the comments never connected. That's a bummer. I'm not even sure. Someone put a comment in. For gosh sakes, there's 30 of you. Just to keep my sanity, please. Just to make sure I know that the comments are working. How about that? Let's go ahead and build this mountain out. Pull and stretch that color. That's what that liquid white does best right there. Allows you to blend these peaks out and get an idea which ones are going to be to the left and to the right. Pull into the right, and then pull into the left, and just sort of brushing out the excess paint down here where I want it nice and mellow, nice and calm. Pull some of that down. There we go. And this side, look at that. Pull into the right, pull into the left, and sort of just filling in the rest with some misty paint. Look at that. This little area here where we didn't do anything and didn't put any paint becomes part of it. Now, just want to make sure, really scrub out some paint into a napkin. Don't have to go through the full brushing, cleaning procedure here. And look at this. I just want to soften everything down here first. Little strokes, little crisscross strokes, and make it look like it's floating out there. I got a couple spots there. Oh, there we go. There's our happy accident of the day. I grabbed what I thought was a little bit of dark paint, and it turned out to be also part of the cloud. So if you need to, you just back up a step or two. I'm going to come back up here with the knife. Look at that. I can redefine that little bit. I kind of went out of the line there. And if it bothers you, just make it a little bigger. Come back with your brush. Be a little more gentle this time. Maybe stand a little bit more in front. There we go. Oh, that is dark. I often stand over here while I'm painting so my students can see me apply the brush, but that has its good points and bad points. The bad points is I can't see when I'm making some mistakes, so a lot of times I'm staring at the audience too while painting, so that makes for a fun time. All right, let's go ahead and just, I think I have just enough there. Let's give this a shot. I'm going to take some of this color, a little bit blue in it. I want to keep this white. I want to keep it a little bit white so I can put just that bare touch, do I have any left, of crimson. It's just going to warm up that snow a little bit. You don't really see streaks of it. I have it pretty well mixed in, but it's just a little bit off-white, not pure white. Thank you guys for the commenting. I forgot to look. Please don't inhale those paint fumes. Yes, the paint's not so bad. The paint thinner, not as good. But I have exhaust going here, and I try not to dip my face in it too often. So, little roll of paint. We want to put that paint and knife at the same time. If we go too flat, all the paint just comes off kind of hard. If we come up too lightly, we're like sticking our finger and trying to push the paint in. But if you do it just right, you just feel that paint stick, you run the knife, just letting gravity do the work for you, and the paint comes off in these little breaks, these little hunks and chunks. We got a big peak here. As I come down, the paint is coming off. So I pivot the knife to widen the path where it needs to be. And I also, as I'm coming down, I'm flattening the knife. I know it's a lot going on at once, and it takes a try or two to get the hang of it. I have very little paint on the knife, and it's very flat. That's why I'm coming down and just lightly going across it. Maybe I can get some of that paint to come off. Maybe not. Maybe not. Every time you do it, it comes out a little bit differently. Look at that. Just pulling down. I can always add a little more. If you're light touching it, you can add lots and lots. Look at that, maybe. Oh, this is a very, very vertical mountain. And maybe over here, this little guy is way in the background, I think. Make it a little bigger, but I'll show you what we're gonna do here. Can there be a mountain goat where it's, I mean, he's over there already. You know, he's so far away. We wouldn't be able to pick out individual goats, but I say there's some out there. We're going to take a little bit of that white and a little bit of, I don't know what that was, midnight black, I think. There we go. Midnight black and the phthalo blue. I think feels like a grain of sand or something on the palette. I can just feel it grinding. Get out a little roll of color. Let's start over here and just very lightly pull a little bit of shadow out. Okay. And this one here, just sneaking a little through where I can. Now watch this. Said we wanted to push that one back, and it's just that easy to come across it. It cuts off that other peak. And we're not done yet. I know it looks like I need to do a lot more, but not yet. I got something up my sleeve for you guys here. Just lightly pulling to the left. Look at this. I can use the small edge of the knife, this little tiny edge here, and that's where I can pick out some spots here. And if you do it right, pulling to the side, a little bit to the left and down, creates these little juts, you know, all those little crags that you might see in a mountain at distance. Okay, now, before I put too much shadow on, I want to come across here with my highlight color and create a little more, just a little bit more there. And we can change this. But as long as it ends up looking like it's going, oh, there we go. I linked up with another peak. And then pull it back out. And downish. There we go. that. Now, whenever we add these peaks, gotta re-add add some new shadows here. So this shadow is going to come out. Needed more paint. Boy, this mountain is growing by leaps and bounds. Okay, and let's see. Come back as many times as you want. Change it up. Look at that. That's going to come way out like that. Have a new thing happening there, sort of like craggy central. Almost didn't make enough shadow color. I think I have just enough to get us through here. Ooh, that's going to be a nice vertical one. Ooh, kind of bring it in front of this one. Makes it look, this is in front of this. In front of, you know what I'm saying. That's the idea. Oh, so close to running out of shadow. This might be just about it. Or else I'll have to make up some more, and that's going to take like 10 seconds. I don't want to do that. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Good. Good, good, good. All right. Oh, I might need to clean a brush. How did you see my happy accident? It happened. I had to back up and make my mountain a little bigger in spots because I sort of broke out there. I have a hard time coloring within the lines. So sometimes I gotta fix myself. All right. So we have to finish this big old strong mountain. Dry brush, don't inhale the fumes. That's good advice. Tap just to destroy some of those reflections. Destroy some of the end of that shadow, and then we swipe up to take out those destroy or tappy marks, and it hopefully gives the impression, look at that, nice softening, a mystifying, hypnotizing, dazzlefying look of mist or fog at the base of the mountain. I make up words. I think I just made up 2 or 3 that time. Or I need to pick up a dictionary. One or the other. Either way, we're having fun. Misty cloud floating up there. I tell you what, I'm going to give you guys a chance. You guys tell me, do you want to see actual fog banks of fog here at the base of the mountain, or does that sell it? Or maybe this mountain is so high that there's clouds under the mountain. So much altitude. So do we want big fluffy clouds or just leave it as is? Big fluffy fog banks or leave it as is? Or mist. We could do a light mist. I think I know what you're saying. You're just saying mist. So, all right, Whisper Zip. You're the first one, and apparently the only one. So I go with what you say. We'll just leave it misty. If you wanted to make it even mistier, look at this. You just tap in and tap away. Look at that. We added just a little bit more mist right there. All right, so let's take that dark color. I'm going to actually create just a little bit more. That was phthalo blue, not Prussian blue, but it'll work. And let's make, okay, again, first one that, look, there's 2 people. The first one I see is what I'm going to go for. So, should I use the 1-inch brush or the fan brush to make my foothills? 1-inch or fan? 1-inch brush or the fan brush? You guys elected to do the fan brush last night, so it's up to you. First one I see is what I'll do. And I'm going to prep for that just by cleaning my 1-inch brush, just in case. Just in case. I'll do it fan style again. I really want to try the 1-inch brush. Boy, the comments are much, much further behind. I apologize. Wow, that was late. I'm going to have to give you guys your choices a lot earlier. So when I get to it, that's what I'll do. So now all those are coming in. And I'm all ready to do the next step, but I think I'm waiting for the comments to catch up. So I'll take a drink of my soda pop. Oh, fan! Dang it. I cleaned that brush for nothing. Now, what I was talking about there, and a little bit of white. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of this color, the dark color, and a little bit of white. Now you were thinking, or I was thinking here, of doing these fans where these, the treetops, doing things like this, right? That's what you were expecting? Wrong-o. We're going to go ahead and make our foothills with the fan brush, but I'm going to pull down. Look at that. When I pull down, it kind of makes this little half straight edge and a half little curve. So that's what you got to play with here. You want to pull down, but make a more of a rounded shape. See, that kind of hooks over there. Just by pulling down and moving the brush. Ooh, can do it that way too. Make it a little smaller as it goes off there. There we go. Look at that. And this is just the start. I know it doesn't really look like much yet. Pulling down just to give the impression of something back there, something breaking the horizon. Now I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for reasons. I tell you what, I know why. Just going to smash and mash it all out at the bottom. Maybe make it a little bit more off into the distance there. There we go. Very lightly lift. Now, as I smashed it, there wasn't a lot of color there anyway, so it really didn't. Ooh, I actually pulled up some trees there. I'm not sure I like that. Went up a little too high. Well, everything just then gets a little bigger. Maybe we'll see a couple of them, just not so tall. There we go. See, I meant to put a little bit more mist in there, so I am going to have to tap into some white paint here. And this is a little tedious here, but it's fun. You got to play around here. It's all about how much paint you tap into the brush. Is kind of what the effect gets. Sometimes you get a little bit more whiteness, sometimes a little less. Depends on how much paint's already there, and how much you work it. The more I work it, this will all just get all soft again. Look at that. It's almost like it's a whole layer of trees, but it's white, so it'll look like fog. There we go. Then I come back to that fan brush. I aim to please. We're going to be doing lots more happy trees. These are happy trees that are far, far away. Grab a little bit more of the dark color, mixing it in with that same thing, the same pile with some white in it. Let's go ahead and maybe we got a little second layer of these background trees. We're working our way forward slowly but surely, just by pulling down and keep the brush moving. You can make these in no time. Something like that. And this time, let's see here. I have a little bit of white already in my brush, and all I'm doing is just barely hitting like the bottom quarter inch or so. Just soften the bottom, just like we did with the clouds, just like we did with the mountain. Soften the bottom as we move our way closer and closer into the scene. Look at that, we even get a little something there. Brush some of that away, gently lift up. And we get another layer of distant trees. Now, just so that I don't accidentally get into it there, let's get rid of that dark color, or that medium dark color, and get into the actual dark color. So, before I get into that, I need to make a little more. I know, yikes, that's a lot. I know I'm going to need a lot. You know that I use a lot of paint, so let's get some piles of paint going here. Let's take all that Prussian blue and all that crimson, take another little bite of brown, and let's mix up a big old batch. Look at that. That is a lot of color. A little bit of looseness due to the oil, so I'm going to try to work that, and that shininess should disappear. There we go. Big pile of color. Very similar to the previous color. If anything, it's just might be a slight bit darker. Okay? And if it's not, I tell you, I'm going to have to make a lot of trees because I put all this paint out here. Be prepared. Prepare yourself for a lot of trees. Now, when I'm painting and when I'm teaching, I always try to tell my students, stop worrying about it. Don't worry about anything, because anything you don't like, we drop a big old tree right in front of it. So anything that you're unsure about, just have patience. We're gonna cover that right up. There we go. Big old pile of color. Same old brush. Let's go ahead and give it a quick clean while I check the comments. Well, thanks there. That's what happens as you're building your way. Light and dark, dark and light. That's what gives it that three-dimensional instead of it just looking really flat. I kind of like that. I think that before I get into the trees, let me just finish out this area right here. Oh, see, clean the brush. Getting into just a little bit of this white, titanium white, maybe just a little waterline here. Just gotta barely have any on the knife and just saw your way across. There we go. Now it looks a little bit more like the land meeting the water lapping up on the land. Let's go ahead and load in a lot of paint. See, a lot of times I tell my students, when Bob does this, he brings the handle over a lot. Sometimes he comes up like this and loads the brush full of color. See how it's all just sort of built up at the end though? You always see him do these nice long pulls, and that shapes the paint to a lovely, ooh, can I see that? There we go, to a nice chiseled edge. there's a wedge of color, but right there on the edge, it's nice and pointy. We'll make a nice pointy line. So we need a little grove of trees. And I say, start right here. So I just tap down a little bit of a center line, and then very gently with the corner of the brush, I'd start tapping and bending those bristles. Tap a little bit in the center and work your way out. Almost like these little steps. Beep, beep, beep. Little taps. That's all you need. There we go. And what I like to do is put in the trees just so that we cover up that previous blank area. See, it's almost like I planned it a little bit. Having no paint is always a little more helpful, but it's okay if you do have some paint up there, and we just tap in a little stronger color, hopefully a slightly thinner mix, because our golden rule is that a thin paint will stick to a thick paint. Let's go ahead and make that one tall now. Something I didn't like about that. He's kind of leany though. This edge can make it a little funky. Make little blobs across the corner there. So I'm trying to avoid that. Boy, we do have some leany trees today. And we're just going to tap out just to give us an idea that these trees are sitting on some kind of land. There we go. And again, we can make it a little bigger than it needs to be and cut it off. I think that's what I was trying to say over here. I was going to turn it all into reflections over here, and then I changed my mind and put a little layer of mist instead. So I was making this bigger and bigger, aren't I? I better stop. I'm going to take my 2-inch brush. You can use the 2-inch brush or the 1-inch brush, and I grab whatever I want to chop away, and boom. Pull it to reflections, and working my way down a little bit. See here, it's a little higher, a little lower, a little lower. That's all you do. Just pull some of it out. Because if it's just horizontal, sometimes, not always, sometimes it looks a little flat, a little two-dimensional. I like coming down a little bit more. Just for me, it makes it look a little more natural. Gently pull down, pull across. Yeah, there was a little excess color. Kind of gives it a little reflection now. There's your happy accident. Who would have thought? So this painting is supposed to be daytime. Daytime. It almost looks like I could continue on and just make it summery, or wintry, but I'm planning on making it summer-like. So forgive me while I adjust a couple of things over here on my table. Got where my dirty brushes are kind of hanging out. And I got to get some summery colors, don't I? Tappa, tappa, tappa. Oh, you guys like the happy trees? That's good. So yeah, I did the winter version last night. Now I got to do the summery version, the summer version. So we're getting a little bit of that cadmium yellow. Ugh, my green is a little hard to turn. Let's get some green out there. And you guys know the drill. Summertime means lots of different colors. Lots of different colors. So I'll put out a menagerie of yellows that we use here. Just kind of keeping them away from each other for now. They'll become friends later. Let's go ahead and we'll use this brush. Now this brush is a pretty old brush, but I was able to save it and recover it in the most unlikely of ways. I ain't gonna tell you. It's now a trade secret. No, it was just a special soap. So, a little bit of the cadmium yellow. Pull gently. Look how barely I'm touching that. Just gently pull down here. And I got that liquid white. Got more if I need some more. We want to load this brush up full of color while thinning it and tinting it. Look at that. And now it looks a lot darker, I'm sorry, a lot brighter on the canvas there. So I'm making this a little greener than maybe you'd expect, but it's going to look brighter on the actual scene. So we got our brush going there. I'm going to push up a little bit of a topper stalk there. Maybe, since I got the knife in my hand and I'm talking, a little bit of brown, a little bit of white, cut across, and we can give the impression there at different parts on the tree here. Maybe just a little hint of a trunk way back there. Tiny bit of the white. Highlight that trunk. Maybe. Maybe not. Sometimes we can take our knife and pull little thingies out of there. Maybe we'll see them, maybe we won't. There we go. Enough dilly-dallying. And come up here with my brush. Touch, touch. Not a lot of detail back here. Just enough to get these to look like they're catching a little bit of that sun. There we go. That one got a little darker as it goes down. Something like that. Just to get something out there. Now, I think the ground needs to be a little brighter. So I grabbed a little bit of this color, a little bit more of the white, a little bit more of the liquid white, a little bit more of the cad yellow. And I make a little brighter area here. It's still nice and thin. Tap a little bit into my brush. Look at that. So I'm pushing in, kind of getting it right out there on the tips of the bristles. That way, I can come up here very simply, just above the dark, and create a little grassy area, we'll call it. Look at that. Now I'm going to come into a little bit of the yellow ochre. Change the color a little bit. Now that's thin. I can feel it thicken up, so we got to have it thin. Tap. Let's go ahead. Lots of paint allows you to get this to come off so easily. And the more I tap, mixes in with that darker undercolor and gets darker and darker. Maybe there'll be a little bright thing right there, just to give it the impression of little wandering shapes kind of coming down a little. There we go. And let's just go ahead and let's see what it looks like with a water line. Oh, we gotta clean up the edge a little bit. Just touch, pull some of that down into reflections. There we go. Anything you didn't want to see, just turn it into reflections. There we go. Come up with a little bit of that liquid white, titanium white, cut across. I might have to go to the small edge of the knife. Sneak some of that in there. Sometimes if you make it a little bit too bright, see, I don't like that. I just clean my knife and just rub at it. Give it a little rub right over it and just watch it settle down. Then if you think it needs a little more, you can drop a little more in. There we go. What have I ever punched a hole in the canvas with the knife? Yes, not accidentally. I meant to. It was a frustrating moment about 2 or 3 months after I first started painting, and yeah, in a fit of frustration, I. But just painting normally, you're most likely not gonna. I could see how it could happen. That's why I always say lightly saw. Make a mark, lightly saw. You don't have to push through the canvas, and that usually reminds the students to have fun and do it, but be careful. So, a little bit like that. And what else are we going to do? We need to put in more trees. It's tree time. It's tree time. But I, oh my goodness, forgive my frog voice. I'm going to do a magic trick. You ever see a tree disappear? Taller, you said? A little taller. Let's go ahead. That's our bravery test. Plenty of dark color. Ooh, I didn't mean to take out 2 trees. We'll see if we can't save one of them. Oh, maybe not. We lost a few things, Sergeant. We had some casualties. But you still see a little hint of that tree out there behind this big one. Oh my goodness. Well, I have all this paint, so I must need to use it, right? Got all that giant pile mixed up. That's enough for a lot of these big old trees, so. I think I'm going to have to do a little bit of adjusting here. Keep this one nice and dark. Oh, yeah, I think I got it just enough there. Let's just say, cut it off. And boom, we got a new, something like that. Another wedge. There we go. I don't know. I'll tell you what, I'll start with a smaller one. Let's go ahead and put something over here on the right side. Nope, gotta be a little taller. There it is. Just wanted to make it a little smaller. There we go. Boy, I like trees on edges today. Yeah, we got a little wedge right here. So before I get too crazy, let's go ahead and define our shorelines. Ooh, look at that. Take a lot of it, turn it right into water. Okay, lightly pull down. Pull across, and over here, same thing. Oh, something happened there. Let's try that again. Bring a little more. Turn some of it this time into reflections, not all of it. There we go. Let's come back. I've got my thinner color here. A little bit of green and cad yellow, basically. I'll thin it out just a little bit here. Oh, before I begin, gotta add my little tree toppers. There we go. And there we go. Got a little tiny bit of trunk color here. Some brown, a little bit of white. Cut across. Get a little roll of color. Try to touch in the center. That's going to make it look like a natural tree there. A little bit here and there. I just sort of move on. So if I can see some color, that's probably good enough. Sometimes if you add too much color, it makes it a little harder to get the highlights on. But I think we're okay. And we'll come up here with our fan and tapping downward. Bing, 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 bing. Bing, 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 bing. Don't do them all. They don't all want to be highlighted. Only some of them want to catch that sun. It looks good if there are some gaps and seeing some dark kind of poking through. So I kind of get that muscle memory going, you know. Once I start tapping, you just work your way down and let's see what happens. It takes a little bit to get the muscle memory going. So just practice letting go. Let go. Work your way down. Don't stay in one spot. And just sort of bing, bang, bong. It's on. There we go. Now I'm following the worst advice, which is go up and start tapping more. Normally you don't need to do that, so I'm gonna try to hold off. Okay, I'm done. I swear I'm done. I swear. Now we need to make a mess. Let's make a big old mess. Hey Ninja, what's happening? I think the comments are scrolling really slow today. Anything I say, I see the reply to it like 5 minutes later. But the chat doesn't seem to be working in the RPAN studio, but I'm still having a good time. And the idea is a little bit of a lake. Maybe we're coming up to a different section. I don't really know. So let's make some bushes. Lots of this liquid white. So I just dip my brush, doink, right into the liquid white, and I'm going to start pulling, but just barely grazing some of that yellow, and allow those two colors to mix and get nice and thin. Oh, I'm almost out of my yellow here. A little bit more yellow. And then, oh, I don't want to go too green too quick. Let's get a nice bright, maybe a little bit of Indian yellow. How about that? Lots of paint up there in the brush. Okay. Come up here very gently. Oh boy, oh, darn near skipped a whole step. Let's go ahead, if we want to here, not always, but sometimes we'll put out a little bit of dark first, just to break up that plane there, give the highlight something to stick to. Over here, there's already plenty in there. I guess that's what I was looking for. There we go, look at that. Now, all these little leaves and stick shapes, we get in there with the highlight and make a nice little arc and start working our way down. There we go. Come back here. Let's go ahead and get a little bit more of that. Indian yellow, a little bit of green. Lots of color here. Lots of color. See all those little lacy effects on your palette? That's what your brush should look like. Push really hard, and some of that previous color comes off too. Gives a little grassier look. And then we'll come back here, grab just the bare edge of it, pull some of it down to make a little bit of color in the water. How much is up to you. And let's see here, over on the other side, that's going to need some attention as well. Let's go right into the yellow ochre, a little bit of liquid clear, I'm sorry, liquid white. Why would I say liquid clear? Grabbing that color, a little bit thinner, and we'll put in a nice darker one there. Okay. Now, occasionally, you work light to dark, or if you have more than one brush, you can mess around with that. I do have more than one brush, but this is starting to get muddy. So I can just clean it now rather than getting another brush dirty. Just knock some of that excess color off, and then I can go into my paint thinner. And start over a little bit. So I'm going to come back here, grab my, whoa, that was a lot. Grab my liquid white, go into my bright yellow color, grab a touch of the green. Really need to work this in to get that thickness right. If it's a little too light, it's just going to be sloppy. So I'll find my color here, get that nice consistency. Then I can do another one. Let's go ahead and put him, ooh, there we go, right there. In front of that one. I like that. Then come back here. Grabbed a little bit of, blue. Kind of changes up the color a little bit. As long as you get it right out there, we can make all sorts of little things. Okay, this is wild. This is a wild scene. No path, no real lawn grass like that little bit we did back there. This is all pretty overgrown. Okay, I'm going to get just a touch. This time I don't want to lighten this one up. I get a drop of paint thinner so I can go into this pure Indian yellow color. We don't have something like that up there yet. So a little bit of paint thinner instead. Ooh, I like that color. There we go. Nice and wild. I like it. And as we've done here, grab a little bit. Pull some of that color in if you want to. And we'll gotta get a water line in there. I think I have just barely enough color on my palette here to do it. Let's give it a shot. Bending the blade a little bit more down and pushing in a little harder will allow you to get a bigger water line. It comes off kind of like these little blended areas, and then you get a little bead of color. That's what makes it the water line look a little more accurate. Getting that little soft bit first is nice. Then you get the bead of color. Makes it look real. Something like that. And too often I see people overdoing it. Doesn't need to be like crazy amounts of color there. It just needs to be in the right area. This looks a little strong there. So let's just sort of rub that down. Put a little bright line right up there. That works. But I still don't like it. Let's cover it up a different way. Make it look a little more. Ooh, it just comes right out, doesn't it? There we go. Now, scratch right through the color in some of these dark areas. Adds little sticks and twigs. Well, yeah, what is it, 10 in the morning? 10:30 in the morning on a Thursday? That's all right. So there's a basic style mountain in the style that of it's called On a Clear Day that I did yesterday. Made some changes to it. It's still a fairly fun painting to do, especially for a beginner. You get to get some experience with the knife and all that good stuff. So who knows, I might be back in a couple hours and do another. I need the practice. So I will talk with you guys later. Have a great day if I don't talk to you again.